So excited you're here.
I'm so excited to be here. I missed you, obviously.
Same. I
You and I
know.
talk like almost every day, but
It's
obviously on here, it's different. This is so nice.
Yes. Okay. This has got next. Meghan and Zora. And I can finally say, I've been saying Meghan and Zora, but then I've had to do this whole spiel about how Meghan will be back soon. Meghan is here, which is amazing.
Meghan is here.
I'm so excited for you for all the things. But of course, you're coming back in the middle of March Madness. You wouldn't have it any other way.
It is madness for a reason. Yes.
It is madness for a reason. How's your bracket holding up? Before we even get into like any nitty gritty stuff.
I mean, my love for the Big Ten has been shot. So my bracket's unwell. It's funny. I've been fortunate enough to be working with Muffet McGraw during this tournament on ESPN in studio. And she's been giving me a hard time about the Big Ten, all in good fun. But yeah, coach, your bracket's much better than mine is right now. So, yeah.
You have made me bias towards the Big Ten. So, of course, I picked with my heart for so many matchups, especially in the second round.
Yeah.
And it did not go so well for the B1G.
Tough on the Big Ten. But, like, you know what? It's been a great tournament in terms of the parity we've seen. And we're going to get into all of this. But the 5 seeds, are you kidding me? It's a good year to be a 5 seed.
Yeah.
The Stars are playing great. And I'm so excited for the Sweet 16.
Your Final Four, are all 4 still in it? You didn't have any crazy Final Four picks?
No, I was very boring with my Final Four. I picked all 1 seeds. Like, who am I?
All ones?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have. But, like, still, it just felt right at the time when I was doing it. So we'll see what happens if chalk holds.
Okay. I picked all 1s except I picked, you know who I picked.
You picked Notre Dame, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Of course I did.
Because my love for the Big Ten is like your love for the Irish. Fair. And you know what? As long as Olivia Miles stays healthy, like.
I know.
And I can't wait for their matchup in the Sweet 16, a little rematch against a loss earlier this season with TCU.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get too ahead of ourselves, there's so many matchups that I know that we want to dive into, but we got to go back to a lot of things that happened in round 2, specifically less than 24 hours ago. We were all staying up past our bedtimes watching a 10 p.m. Eastern tip as USC takes on Mississippi State to try and get to the Sweet 16. Last game in Galen this season for the Trojans. And next thing you know, JuJu Watkins goes down. And it was one of those injuries where you saw the knee buckle and you hope for the best. You didn't want to think the worst, but ultimately JuJu is now out for the rest of the season. She will need surgery and rehab thereafter. And I don't think, just as an athlete, it's devastating. It's awful, right? Like you think of JuJu, right? And you think of her family and everything that she's probably thinking of. You think of her team and what this means for her team. That is a number 1 seed and that has and still has aspirations for a national championship. And then you go even further and you think about the game, right? Women's basketball and how much excitement there is around her and to watch her and her team. And now we'll be void of that. So I'll just open it up to you on your thoughts there. I mean, there's not much to say other than it just freaking sucks.
It's devastating, right? Like, you and I, unfortunately, injuries are part of the game, especially those knee injuries. And I feel like, unfortunately, we've seen those types of things happen quite a bit, just being around the game, playing, and now, working within the game. And as soon as it happened, you just got sick to your stomach. So from a, fan perspective, it stinks. Like, she's one of the best players in the country. She's so much fun to watch what she's done for the game. Like, this women's basketball is exploding right now. And so much of it is because of course, like the Angel Reeses and Caitlin Clarks and Paige Bueckers, and JuJu is in that list of names of reasons why people are tuning in and love this game. Mm-hmm. So obviously, like, our thoughts, prayers with JuJu and her family and all that she's about to go through. But I also think on the other side of this, Paige Bueckers came back from a season-ending injury and is still on a great trajectory to win a national championship, to play in the WNBA, all the things. Olivia Miles sustained, she stayed out of playing for 2 years after sustaining an injury. And really interesting hearing Olivia Miles talk about, she got cleared to play, but she wasn't ready to play.
Yeah,
so,
great piece.
It was a really nice piece. And I tell you all this to say, as devastating as this is, there is always the comeback, right? That's still there. And you have these great players that deal with these devastating injuries and are still able to come back. So obviously this is going to be a long road for JuJu, but I expect nothing less that she's going to be back and better than ever when the time does come. So yeah, there's not much to say other than we're just thinking of her, and our thoughts would go out to her and her team.
Yeah, it's not the end for JuJu. I think we can all agree on that, and we will await her return when she's ready. If Olivia Miles taught us anything, the difference between being cleared and being ready. And shout out to all the play. ACLs are far too common.
So common.
In basketball, right? I mean, either you or somebody that close to you that went through it. So the good news is science has come a long way, and the recovery time is a lot shorter. The positive in all this, though, and I think where the Trojans deserve more credit is the talent that they have.
Totally.
I mean, people are acting like, and Kiki went off, okay? 36 points, 9 rebounds. She did what she needed to do against Mississippi State, but I'm not surprised. We have watched Kiki for months in her, debut with USC, and that's what she's capable of doing. It's just different when you're playing with an All-American and arguably the best player in the country right now in terms of the shots you get and the opportunities you get, specifically offensively. I mean, Lindsay Gottlieb will say they don't necessarily usually run things for Kiki because you have JuJu, right? Rightfully so. She is more than capable. Kiki Iriafen, Avery Howell, freshman off the bench, 18 points. You have other freshmen like Kennedy Smith.
Kaylee Heckle had 18.
I mean, this is a team, like, do not get me wrong, it is completely different without JuJu, but this is still a freaking good basketball team.
They're a 1 seed for a reason, right? It's not just JuJu. It is Kiki. It's Rhea Marshall. It is Kaylee Heckle. I mean, you called more USC games than anybody this year, so you got to kind of be around that team a ton. And they have depth and they have experience. And look, Kiki Iriafen is going to be a first-round draft pick very soon. I think her game translates beautifully over to the WNBA. So it's going to be a long road ahead in terms of just like mentally as a team trying to you have to find a way to separate and put we're upset about losing JuJu to the side, and then you have to like come back and focus. And it's really difficult to do. That's going to be a really daunting task, but the talent is not a problem at all. They still have the talent to get to a Final Four.
Yeah. Oh, that's a big statement. Yeah. Yeah.
They totally have the talent. Now, a rematch with UConn. Potentially, it's a lot, but I really like the bigs that USC brings to the table. And if you can get that type of double-digit performance from Howell and Heckle off the bench, like that could be a really good game still. We're going to have to see what happens. Obviously, it's a big blow, but I still feel USC has the talent.
Yeah, and one other name I want to mention is Talia Von Olafen. I feel like has so much left in her tank that she hasn't gotten the opportunity to display this season just because of the makeup of the Trojans. And now like, hey, the offense needs you, honey. And so I'm excited to see her skill set on display. And yeah, I of course just want to reiterate that we're just wishing JuJu the best. My goodness. Not what you wanted to see for the human, for the athlete, or for the game. Let's now move forward a little bit because we're going to get to some of the matchups you talked about, potentially USC and UConn. They can't do that unless they get past Kansas State. But let's hold on in just a second because there was some great games in the second round. Okay. First one, Kansas State, Kentucky. I'm going to be honest. I had Kentucky coming out of that, heading to the Sweet 16, especially since they were at home. The veteran leadership of Georgia Amoore, her playmaking ability, Kenny Brooks, and what he's done, and Kansas State slashed all that. It was a great game.
It was such a fun game to watch. Look, you have Yoki Lee back, which is huge for Kansas State. She had missed, I believe, 14 games in the regular season, so they had to adjust to playing without her. She's 6'7". She does a lot for them. But Temira Poindexter, are you kidding me? Zora, she started out 0 for 5 from 3 in this game. Finished the game with 8 threes, timely threes, not to mention. one, to have the amnesia of a shooter, right? Where like you don't remember a miss. You just think every next shot's going in. And that's the mentality she was able to get into. Serena Sundell. I mean, you go down the list, that team, that core group on Kansas State have played together for 3 or 4 years. So they have that experience together, which is huge this time of year. And it's why you can win tight games on the road in the NCAA tournament. But that Temira Poindexter performance is one we're going to remember in 2 weeks at the conclusion of this tournament.
They were timely threes. Like they were clutch threes. The last note that I want to make about that specific game is Georgia Amoore had a chance to keep the game going at the end, had a nice kind of mid-range floater, and she missed it. And you know, what stood out to me is her demeanor after the game. She looked okay. And she was asked about it after the game. And she said, I'm not going to let one shot define my collegiate career. And I thought that was just so poised and mature, because I've been crying all weekend long when I see teams lose and you see everybody on the bench bawling, because we've all been there, whether it's the NCAA tournament or not. We've all had our career end at one point. And so we sympathize with that. And emotions, it doesn't help that I'm freaking pregnant, so I cried everything. But I'm just like a ball of emotions. But I just appreciated that by Georgia, because she's so right. One game, one play does not dictate your entire career. And she has so much basketball ahead of her.
So, I mean, she's going to have a great pro career. And I love what she did in college basketball. And I love that she went to Kentucky with Kenny Brooks after, you know, really good career at Virginia Tech. So she will go down as one of the great point guards by all means. And there is no Georgia Amoore hate on this end. We love us some Georgia Amoore and all she was able to do in the women's game.
So you thought Kansas State, Kentucky was the game that like we needed to talk about. And then Alabama and Maryland happened. Double overtime. I'm not gonna lie, I missed the whole part where Maryland was down 17. I was napping again, like pregnant. So I just
pregnant twins, you know.
I wake up and I'm like, oh my god. So I wake up and there's like maybe 5 minutes left in the fourth, and I'm locked in. And the way that game finished, Maryland won. But Meghan, you got to talk about Sarah Ashlee Barker for her career high on the last game, right? Like just the way that she showed up on the road. And I know Alabama wanted so much to make it to the Sweet 16 so they could play in Birmingham. And play in Alabama. And in the line, I heard Brenda Frese say no one deserved to lose that game. And I think that's the greatest way to explain that display of basketball.
Listen, you love double OT. You love having to make 3 free throws to go to overtime. Like, and she just stepped up, boom, boom, boom.
So hard.
So just a mental giant. This was one of those games, a signature game that we're going to be talking about forever, you know, and we talked about the 4-5 seeds, right, in the tournament. And I love how this year more than ever, you had coaches that were pretty vocal about, I didn't like our seed, you know, felt we were underseeded. So, you know, look at the 1 seeds, John Staley, Lindsey Gottlieb, both had something to say about their status as a 1 seed and what order they were chosen. And then you had a lot of the 4 and 5 seeds be like, we should have been a 4, because as we've talked about, if you're a 4 seed, you get to host. How about all these 5 seeds coming out, and the fact that the last 5 that could have come out went into double overtime? That's how the game was decided. Just goes to show so much parity in the women's game right now, which makes it so much fun. Maryland holding strong for the Big Ten, getting to the Sweet 16. But yeah, shout out to Sarah Ashlee Barker, her performance. I mean, for Maryland, just from top to bottom, this is a team that, you know, a year ago finished 8th in the Big Ten. A lot of people were surprised by this. They not barely made the NCAA tournament. They had a really good run in March. But for Brenda Frese to be able to go into the portal, get, I believe it was 9 new players, a mix of freshmen and transfers, and have them come in, and now they're going to the Sweet 16. Says a lot about her coaching, and it says a lot about Shyanne Sellers being the veteran that she is. And I know
you're a Shy stan.
Forever and ever, no Shyanne Sellers slander on this end. I love me some Shy Sellers. So yeah, I'm impressed with how Maryland did, and their experience I think will really help them in the long run. They got a gauntlet coming up next, though, for them having to take on the 1 seed in South Carolina. That's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, but Maryland deserves to celebrate it. And you want to talk about teams? Every team faces adversity throughout the season, right? But you just think about Bree McDaniel going down. Shyanne Sellers was out for a bit.
Yeah.
And Maryland figures out a way to get it done in a classic basketball game that I would love to watch over again. And just to cap off the 5 seeds. So obviously we talked about Kansas State. Maryland was 4 and they move on. Ole Miss is 5 and they move on. And Tennessee is 5 and they move on. Tennessee beating Ohio State. But Coach Yo from Ole Miss said maybe because we shouldn't have been 5 seeds, and I'll just leave it there. No one's ever happy with their seeding, right?
No,
and where they end up,
especially if you're not hosting. No,
right? No, and hosting makes such a huge. I mean, that 4 and 5 is crucial. You think, oh, it's just 1 seed. No, it is crucial to be able to stay home. Okay, now we are going to have the opportunity to bring in a good friend of ours.
Yay!
Sloane Martin is here. Do we have Sloane? She's called so many women's college basketball games, specifically the Big Ten, the Big East. So there's no better person to dive into the preview of the Sweet 16 than Sloane.
Oh,
Yay!
She is here. Sloane Martin, hi, friend.
I am longtime friend, first time guest of the show. Very excited, especially here looking at the Sweet 16 as well. No better time to jump on with the gang back together.
Oh
so before we get into anything, I just want to let you know that once a month I text Meghan and I'm like, Sloane is so good at what she does. I kid you not. I really have a great appreciation for how you do what you do. Your preparation's unmatched. Your calls are great. So I'm a huge fan. I think I've told you that, but I haven't told you the whole like once a month situation. So
I had the text messages to prove it. I can screenshot and send it away.
Oh my gosh. That is the sweetest thing. And it's like other play-by-plays, we don't get to cross paths very often. And then it's like media day and we're both running around like a million things to do. And it's such a busy and stacked day. So like that makes it even better. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that and you have a fan in me. Okay, we'll just start off the bat. Like I'll run down the list of all the Sweet 16 games. It's going to be USC, Kansas State. Talked about South Carolina, Maryland, Notre Dame, TCU. I mean, there's so many storylines. UCLA, Ole Miss, LSU, NC State, Oklahoma, UConn, Texas, Tennessee, Duke, UNC, which is huge. And then, yes, I think that's all of them. Any of them that you want to start with? Any matchup there, Sloane, that really stands out to you with the storyline or the talent that's going to be on the floor that we should start with?
I think K-State and USC for sure. And that's obviously because of now the absence of JuJu Watkins, which feels like we enjoy this time of year so much, but you just can't deny that it just feels like there's this dark cloud over things right now. And it's no consolation to say, well, hey, USC still has Kiki Iriafen, who just took over yesterday with a career game, or the great freshmen that they have in Kennedy Smith and Kaylee Heckle and Avery Howell. That's not going to make those fans feel any better. But when we look at like a basketball perspective, though, I am so excited to see. I'm a post-enjoyer. This seems to be well established about me. It's basically my personality. But to see Rhea Marshall and Ayoka Lee battling is going to be, I think, really, really exciting because Rhea Marshall is so strong and she is so tough. She is just like a bully out there, and to see how she's going to get up for this performance, I think is going to be really exciting too, with the size of Lee. And then just K-State, them as a group, the way that Jeff Mittie has just built this from the ground up. When you look at Sundell, the Glenn twins and Lee, and then just building the pieces around them, they're just such a likable group. Plus, also a very big fan of their goat mascot. I don't know if you've seen this from all the times they've been celebrating. They have a gap goat, and a gap is 3 stops in a row. They try to get 7 or 8 per game. And that's just fun. I love all tiny mascots, stuffed animals.
I should have added Big 12 to, Sloane's repertoire here.
Yes, she does do a lot of Big 12. Yeah.
Just some strategy too. I could see Lindsay Gottlieb playing Clarice Akunwafo a little bit more in this game. And I just bring that up because she's really high on Clarice's ability to guard down in the post. I mean, I know we've talked about the UCLA and USC. When they match up, Clarice plays more than she plays in any other game because she feels like she has the ability to slow down bets. Meghan, your thoughts either on this matchup or any other matchup that's got wheels here?
I agree. I'm like all of a sudden riding the K-State train. I think they're just such a fun team to watch. So that's going to be a fascinating matchup. I also find interesting the rematch of TCU Notre Dame. And for me, it comes down to how do you guard the ball screen with HVL and Sedona Prince. I think it's going to be a point of emphasis this time around for Notre Dame. And when Notre Dame has lost games, it's because they've been forced to play a little slower in the half court, because when they can get out and run in transition, they're unstoppable. To me, that's like appointment television. All of these are appointment television. Are you kidding me? We're now in the Sweet 16. But that's going to be an interesting one for me. And Sloane, like, you know, you do the Big 12, you do the Big 10. When you take a look at UCLA, like, how much can this team truly make a run at a national championship?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Especially now with the absence of JuJu Watkins, you feel like that door is wide open. I felt like, you know, Notre Dame had maybe been my favorite throughout a lot of the season. And obviously Olivia Miles, not 100% right now. And I think we've seen a little bit of cracks with you know, the last couple of weeks. Then I kind of swung over to USC, even though they lost to UCLA in that Big Ten championship game. But you have to remember, UCLA has lost to one team the entire the entire season. So to look at the strength of that group and just Lauren Betts, the kind of season she's having, absolutely unstoppable. I'm not trying to look ahead too much to next year too, but her McDonald's All-American sister, who's 6'3", is going to be coming along too and playing alongside her, is just unimaginable to even think about. But I just think the depth of that group, the timely scoring, they're able to get outside of Betts, the times where there's just no answer. I've seen her be double teamed hard, like against Minnesota. She just had 11 assists in that game, and they brought those double teams extremely hard. There is no answer to stop Lauren Betts. So that is certainly a way that they could get all the way and cut down the nets.
So, I mean, I could go down the list, all these games. Like, we could have a podcast about each game. The next one that I want to bring up is Texas, Tennessee. Tennessee played Texas really tight in the regular season. And I know it's a 1-5 matchup, and that would be a huge upset, but I could see it being a really good especially like Tennessee's whole like hockey substitution situation can run you down because they always have fresh legs. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that they have going for them, is they always have fresh legs. So when you're playing 5 to 7 people, which most teams do, especially this time of year, and then Tennessee comes with the 5 in, 5 out, they can just run you to the ground.
That to me is going to be fascinating too, Sloane, because I feel like it takes coaches like 3 years to get 200 substitutions in. And it takes Coach Caldwell a game to do such a thing. That to me is interesting with the styles of play as well. Like when you look at Texas, they don't shoot a lot of threes. They play a ton on the inside, like their post between Taylor Jones, Kyla Oldacre, Maddie Booker, who's so good on the inside as well. Like they are huge, and they kind of like to slow down in the half court, and they can really defend as well. And then you have this Tennessee team that likes to play faster than the speed of light. Like, what gives?
Yeah, that's the interesting question. It was a really close game the first time they met. I think it was just a 4-point difference, but that was all the way back in January. And, you know, we hear all the time from coaches how completely different these teams are, you know, after just a couple of weeks, especially now when everything is on the line, win or go home. But it is exact opposite kind of styles. I mean, Tennessee is still solid defensively, but they're about mid-pack in the SEC. Mm-hmm. But Texas is 4th in defensive rating in the entire country. They want to just completely slow you down, hamper you, smother you in every way they can. And then they just are able to build up those twos as efficiently as possible. I mean, Booker is just someone who is unstoppable too, where it's just hard to find an answer for her kind of strength that she has, where, I mean, one-on-one matchups just feel like it doesn't do anything against her. So that is one that is, you know, interesting on this stage. You know, we have that first matchup to go off of, but how are things different under these different kind of circumstances? But Texas's defense is one of the best in the entire country.
Yeah.
You knew Sloane was going to come in with a stat of some sort.
Of course. Like, of course she knew that they're like 4th in defensive rating. This is what I mean, Megan.
Efficiency. That's what she does. I'm fortunate enough, by the way, to work with both of you. And like, you guys are both so prepared and study, and you both come up with nuggets like that. So I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Sweet. You're 4th in defensive efficiency. Awesome.
The last game I do want to bring up that just screams offense to me, and we'll see what gives, is LSU NC State.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about scores on both sides. Sloane, you want to start with your thoughts on that one?
This becomes such a cliched phrase, but not enough people talk about Sanaya Rivers. who I think is
Yeah.
someone who's going to have an incredible, even not just pro career. I think she's a W ready player right now. And this is just another like really cohesive group under Coach Moore. And it's interesting to look at the similarities between these teams about how they've been built. She's now been there for a couple of years. Isaiah James has been just so electric with her game. But I think Sanaya Rivers, even if it's not scoring, it is all the tiny things she's able to do to affect the game, her length, her speed, her decision making, even if it's not always scoring with that squad too. But I think that she is a force and a factor with this team to try and go forward.
Yeah. I love that you brought up Sanaya Rivers. When I got home last night from work, my mom said Sanaya Rivers is my favorite player in this tournament. So
good taste. Laura has good
taste. Favorite player, Sanaya Rivers. Fun fact. But to that point, like NC State came out so slow against Vermont, I believe, in that 2-15 game. And it was like, oh my gosh, like this is concerning. Are you freaking kidding me to come out in that Sweet 16 matchup the way they did on fire? I was talking to this about with Coach McGraw. Like you say at halftime, okay, like they hit like 10 threes in the first half. Like they're going to slow down. Like there's no way that they can keep up the shooting. They shot 50% from three and 50% from the field on the whole entire game. Like it was insane. They never let up. They played fast. They play four guards, right? They start four guards essentially. So like they can kind of get up and down, which makes them really dangerous. It's going to be important for them not to rely on the three so much as they continue to move forward. Cause I think there's a way they make 15 threes again. I think it's really hard to do. But the way they defend and to have so much quickness and length and athleticism, I think really helps them out in terms of, their game plan headed in against LSU, who quite frankly is talented, but they don't have a ton of depth necessarily. Like outside of Flau'jae and Williams and Mora, like you got to get some other people consistently throughout the rest of this tournament stepping up.
Yeah. No, these were all great takes, great top. I mean, we've got our weekend plans set. Although I'm guessing Sloane is going to be on a softball field somewhere.
Right.
I am actually. You predicted.
Right. No, this is the versatility I'm talking about.
But you know what? I will spend the rest of my night watching basketball. I have texts coming through that are letting me know what's going on throughout the day. So like people know when I'm working, hit me up.
Sloane's enjoying the Midwestern spring, which is, in case you want to know, it's 2 degrees in Nebraska at a softball game in March.
Is it really spring? But Sloane, before we let you go, is your final 4 picks, are they still intact?
Yes. I still, honestly, and maybe I don't want it to be recency bias just after what happened yesterday against Mississippi State, but I still have confidence in USC. I don't think you can underestimate a team that is just now going to be flush with that kind of really strong emotion to play this out for JuJu Watkins and how much that can carry a team. Obviously, you're missing so much scoring. You cannot overlook that. One of the best defenders in the entire country, too. I don't want to take that away and just be like, oh, yeah, they're good to go. But I think that emotional aspect, plus maybe Kiki Iriafen, she has the ability to take over like she did the other night.
I think we all agree. Okay, so that means all of us had USC over UConn in an Elite 8 matchup. We all, okay.
I'm sure there are some fans in stores that would like a word with us.
Yeah. Not as bad, though, if we ever had South Carolina going down. Those fans are...
Oh, no, I can't imagine.
No. They're in our Final Four, everybody, in Columbia. We're good.
Yeah, right. I think everyone probably had South Carolina going to the Final Four as well. Sloane, we appreciate you. You're so good at what you do. Thanks so much for hanging with us today.
Thank you, guys. Love the show. Appreciate it.
You're the best.
We once again appreciate Sloane for stopping by and giving her expertise and her nuggets too. Love all the stats that she brought. Now it's time for our recurring segments, On Her Turf and Got Next. We're going to start with On Her Turf. It is the middle of March Madness. Okay, we're heading into the Sweet 16. And there are players, and we're not going to be able to spotlight everybody. We're going to spotlight a few players that are giving back in a multitude of ways. We start with Flau'jae Johnson at LSU. She's got a partnership with Experian to try to eliminate debt in Louisiana. Take a look.
That's just to the one and only Flau'jae Johnson. If you're not Flau'jae, you keep on damn scrolling. Now, sis, hold up. I got a letter in the mail. Now, I'm assuming I show my address. But ain't that you? Ain't that you? That is you. So this letter in the mail, it says... Dear Kiala, congratulations. You are the beneficiary of an extraordinary act of kindness made possible by Experian, who has teamed up with LSU Tiger star athlete and musical artist Flau'jae Johnson. As part of the Bigger Than Basketball campaign, we are thrilled to share that your outstanding consumer debt on the above listed account has been fully relieved. Your balance is now zero. Zero! Come on, let me, you know, clap your hands. Look, let me tell you something. I had this debt I've been had since 2017. It's saying on here, this account was from 2017. And I just knew. I knew in my heart I wasn't paying that. I said, look, y'all have to punish my good old check because I ain't got no money. I ain't got it. But baby, come on, Flau'jae! Let's go, girl. And the name of the company is Forgive Co. Forgive Co. Forgive Co. They said this is a one-time act of kindness. All you need is one act. One. Come on. He said I'd be a ram in the bush. And in this case, he's Flau'jae. Thank you, girl. That's all. Bye.
That is amazing. Louisiana is one of the poorest states in our country. And this is so intentional. Up to $5 million is her goal. Shout out to these athletes using their power and their advocacy and now NIL opportunities for good.
And there's, I think, a narrative of negativity surrounding NIL. And this is a fabulous example of someone like Flau'jae who's in this incredible position because of basketball to use her platform for good and use her NIL money to help people who need it most. Yeah. And I love that we're seeing this. Also, she's so young, and to have this like mindset of wanting to give back and help people. Like, are you kidding me?
To have even the thought process that debt is a problem and to want to do something about it at her age, I'm just floored by these athletes each and every day. They inspire me. So we're going to add another inspirational athlete to the list, Paige. So backstory on, I'm talking Paige Bueckers at UConn. Backstory on this one is at most schools, right? The games are free for students. You just show like your student card, you get into the game. UConn is UConn, right? And it's a big ticket in town. And so for the tournament, you had to pay to get in. And Paige helped fund 1,500 tickets so that students could go to the game for free.
Which is special. It's her last game at Gamble, and like the students got to go watch that. And I don't know, I just love the sense of pride and community that UConn has, because, you know, we made a joke about, you know, the fans not being happy with us that we didn't have UConn in our Final Fours, but it's so good for the sport to have fan bases that are so passionate. And Paige certainly understands her audience. And I love that she was able to do this for her fellow students.
You can guarantee at a few places in NCAA women's basketball that you will see a sold out crowd. It is South Carolina, Iowa, and UConn. And I'm sure I'm missing a few. Notre Dame has a pretty good crowd as well. I just Indiana, say that to say Indiana. I say that to say shout out to UConn and Paige Bueckers for recognizing the fan base. Okay, we are now going to end on a personal note. This is Meghan's first show back after giving birth just a little over a month ago, and her beautiful, perfect son. We're going to give you a glimpse of JJ. Meghan, I'm so proud of you. You're doing amazing. You're doing like Kris Jenner. You're doing amazing. There he is.
Hi.
A Valentine's Day baby.
So he came on Valentine's Day. I was due on Super Bowl Sunday. That ship came and sailed away. And, you know, he joined us a couple of days later on Valentine's Day, and he has been just so wonderful. And he's, there he is in his little jump man.
He's swagged out.
I know. He, you know, you're about to go through this, and it's just really special to be a mom and, you know, have a little boy. I wanted a girl, for the record, but when we found out it was a boy, I could not imagine not having a boy. He's just so special, and it's been such a wonderful month so far. We're sleeping a little bit, barely, but, you know, comes with the territory, and he's just been so special. So little JJ Wallace, welcome to the world, my friend. He's crying out there. I just heard him a second ago. Shout out to my mom who's in town, helping out and holding it down while you and I are able to talk about what we love. And to also got next, you're next. This is going to be your last show with us. And I'm so glad we got to get one more in together. But as I come back from my maternity, you are headed on your own to have the little twins, little boy and girl. And we're so excited for you and what you're about to experience. You and I talk about our friendship all the time and how grateful I am for you that, we were pregnant together and got to talk about all the things, now kind of entering motherhood with a friend who is, look, dealing with one, I can't quite relate to you as much as I wish I could with dealing with two, but you've been amazing with traveling with the twins and everything. And I'm so excited for you to get into this next journey. And JJ and your crew, we're going to have quite the 3x3 squad.
We are. No, you've been the best, just as a support system and as someone too. I mean, I'll just double all the advice that you give me. I'll just double it, right?
Double it. Yeah, double it. Yeah, exactly.
Double it and try to do it for two. But no, what a time for both of us. We're both so blessed, right, to be in this position and just show people you can. It's an and situation.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the dream of being a parent if that's what you want and continue to work. So shout out to corporations and companies that support that. And Meghan, I will be watching Got Next. I know you'll be amazing throughout the Final Four and the WNBA draft, and then we'll see everybody on the other side. So this has been a really special endeavor to be able to do with you. So I love you. Welcome back, and tag. I'm it. So
yes, you are it.
I will see you guys when I return.